This is William Castle, master of suspense, whose formula for fear requires
a story so full of unexpected thrills and shocks and suspense that the audience has no chance to catch its breath.
This picture vividly depicts gruesome axe murders. It sounded cool.
Strait-Jacket didn't have a gimmick in the classic sense of William Castle gimmicks, but for its time there was some really grisly stuff.
With Joan Crawford, you don't need a gimmick.
Listen to me!
This woman literally dominated that film.
There was no question she was the star.
Strait-Jacket was made after Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which was the first of what eventually became known as the hag movies, which were these former leading ladies who had gotten kind of old and haggard looking and came back to do horror pictures.
Whatever Happened to Baby Jane with Bette Davis and Joan Crawford had been such an enormous success. It became a genre unto itself.
The significance of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane was comparable to what happened when Dynasty came out and all of a sudden women over 40 were sexy and bankable. Just the curiosity of watching a star erode before your very eyes.
Who told you about my dreams? Who told you about my nightmares?
William Castle saw Baby Jane over 17 times. The trauma it left him with was this overwhelming desire to make an A picture with the writer of Psycho and one of the stars of Baby Jane. This was his dream, and he actually made it happen.
This is Robert Bloch, creator of Psycho, who conceives his stories of shock and suspense
by thinking like a murderer.
Robert was told to create a vehicle for an aging star in which she is an axe murderess. Joan Blondell was originally to have played this character in Strait-Jacket, but Joan Blondell had an accident. She went through a glass window and had 60 stitches or something and couldn't work.
This is Joan Crawford, Academy Award winner and one of the most popular film personalities in the world.
William Castle meets Joan Crawford at a party and just falls at her feet and tells her, "I have a script for you. It is completely for you." And she says, "I'm listening." He said, "Okay, you're this woman who's in her 50s. And she goes, no, it's a woman in her 40s. She had a violent streak in her acting. So to play an axe murderess isn't much of a drive.
Extra! Extra! Read all about it! Love Slayer, insane!
I think that what Joan realized in making Baby Jane is that the more monstrous things you did, the more likely you were to get more work. Joan demanded a special dressing room that had to have brandy, 100 proof Smirnoff, beluga caviar. She had to have certain breaks. She picked her cameraman. She had certain lighting. She had script approval, and she had cast approval. If people didn't like it, she didn't work. William Castle did whatever Joan wanted, and he agreed to every single demand. Diane Baker's character was originally played by a younger, more voluptuous, more sexual kind of actress.
It wasn't working out. Her timing was off. She wasn't getting it. She wasn't seeing eye to eye, or she wasn't working the way Crawford wanted to work.
Joan just went over to Castle and said, "This woman won't do." Joan just walked away, and Diane Baker was chosen.
Running away won't solve anything, I know. I've been running away all my life.
Diane Baker had appeared with Joan Crawford in Jean Negulesco's The Best of Everything.
I don't know who it was that brought my name up, but one of either Bill Castle or Joan Crawford had to be.
Mother, what do you think? You look wonderful.
I did feel that Joan was kind to me, and I did feel that she was supportive of me, and she wanted me to do well.
Hello?
And the next thing I know, I'm getting a call. They're sending you the script, but you have to say yes, you have to start tomorrow. I was brought in fast. It was like somebody wanted me there yesterday. Bill Castle was the person to first greet me.
I'm William Castle.
And he was adorable. This huge, wonderful, big guy, warm, friendly. You know, when you look at horror movies, they're usually done by the most adorable people. So that's how it remained all the way through the shoot, is he was so friendly.
This is Joan Crawford. For shocking suspense, I urge you to see Strait-Jacket.
We'd all heard of her, naturally. Everybody knew who Joan Crawford was. And it was kind of exciting around the whole set.
Bill just called from the station. They'll be here in a few minutes.
She had the limousine that was huge, and it was in the distance, so you watched this huge limousine going around and around and around, and we're all made up and ready on the set waiting, and Crawford arrives. So, I mean, there was an entrance.
How do you like it?
She had her own makeup person, her own hair.
You look lovely.
We knew that she had arrived because the set was freezing.
No sense going inside, it's just a big old deep freeze.
Every set Joan Crawford worked on, they had a freezing set. It was like zero. It was really to keep her skin tight, and to keep her looking young, and to make her makeup stay. We saw the cases of Pepsi-Cola now that were all around freezing.
Joan Crawford became the spokesperson for Pepsi-Cola when she married its acting president, Alfred Steele. As with everything in her life, when she became connected to Pepsi-Cola, Pepsi-Cola was Joan Crawford.
Pepsi was overflowing.
Joan had it placed in plain view. What was it, a six-pack? There it is, right on film.
And the doctor in the piece, the man who played the doctor, couldn't act.
You'll have to excuse my appearance. I'm playing hooky.
He was really the vice president of Pepsi.
I hope I'm not intruding.
She had told him that he could have this part.
What about your daughter?
And so we had problems because he couldn't say his lines.
The board recommended your mother's release.
I don't know how it worked, but he was made happy.
We should mention, Strait-Jacket may well be Lee Major's first feature. So that alone makes it unique, I think. Then we have George Kennedy. George Kennedy plays a very kind of unsympathetic farmhand.
Your mother's a loony, ain't she?
Who gets his head dislocated from his body, courtesy of Miss Crawford.
When you see those heads that look so fake and they're chopped off. Huge heads that were done that were sitting in makeup every morning when we came in. And they're lying there and they're shot. And then there's clip, clip. Even Hitchcock didn't let them look fake. What word could I use in lieu of camp? I mean, the way she seduced her daughter's boyfriend, who's like half her age, was wonderful, classic.
Really, Mrs. Harvin, I'm just a country boy.
And I'm just a country girl.
She actually puts her finger in his mouth.
You don't have to be so formal with me. Why don't you just call me Lucy?
We're all stunned because this has come out of nowhere.
I wouldn't like my little girl to think I was trying to take her fellow away from her.
I won't say that Strait-Jacket is an A picture, but I will tell you this. Joan Crawford gives an A performance.
If the public perceives it as a Strait-Jacket was a B movie or a horror movie, whether it's Strait-Jacket or Mildred Pierce, it didn't matter. She gave her best.
Joan Crawford is reliving the last 11 pictures from 1951 to the present, where she is a woman in her 60s, being a woman thinking she's 40, and because she's Joan Crawford, you believe it.
When I look in the mirror, it's hard for me to believe that 20 years have passed.
And I thought she was using lots of stuff in her private life to get out.
I was cheated. But she's not going to be. Not my girl, not Carol.
I read into it so many things like her children, and I thought of her wanting to have a real life with family.
How she must have hated me all those years.
It's a tribute to Joan Crawford's talent, that she's able to bring a certain amount of pathos to her character. There's a bust that is presented in the film as one that was sculpted by Joan's daughter.
You made this?
It was a bust that was done of Joan in the 1930s when she was a contract star at MGM.
It was very moving because she was really using herself, seeing herself as a beautiful young woman.
If her performance were in any other kind of a film, she would have probably gotten an Oscar nomination.
Bill treated her with kid gloves because she did try a couple of times to supersede his direction. That scene at the end when she pulls the mask off my face, I was to be the one that it ended on, going nuts. I hate you, I love you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you.
No, I didn't mean
When it happened, Crawford was on the set and she watched it. Oh my God, if we leave it at this is too big an ending and I'm not in it. She's now crying, holding on to a pillar on the other side of the front door. I thought, wait a minute, that's not in the script. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, I get it. I've got to be smart enough to understand she did not want to leave me with that scene. She was Joan Crawford, the star, and that's how she wanted everybody to see her. One of the things she constantly said to me was, you never go to the market even unless you're dressed the best you can possibly dress. She wanted to be the lady and she was wanting to be royalty with almost a tiara type look with the jewels. I am sure that she felt she owed all of this to her public. You got the idea that the public wanted to see you as a movie star, and once you were there, you owed it to those people out there to be your best.
Joan Crawford did personal appearances for Strait-Jacket, you know.
It must have been great fun for her to go everywhere around the country. People, I gather, were screaming and yelling, and there were huge audiences that showed up. Can you imagine what it meant for Joan Crawford to have this resurgence in her career, to have the audience being so excited about her? What would you do? You'd just go out and be Joan Crawford, gracious to everybody that you met. And I think it would be thrilling. That little section of time that she was able to pull that off at her age was enough time to keep that audience that's always been there for her alive. And I'm sure she loved it. I just don't understand how she allowed that strong outward personality, allowed the fragility, the vulnerability, the fear to overcome her near the end. It seems to me that even while we were doing Strait-Jacket, that she was also having her drinks before everyone went home. That can cause you to do a lot of things. You don't handle things well.
Let me alone!
It is ironic that at the last part of her life that she allowed herself to not be her best. We mustn't forget that there's a dark side to every great person. We have to remember that we cannot expect everybody to be perfect.
For Castle, it was his crowning moment of having a well-known writer, a great star, and a smash hit.
See you later.
I think, though, it will be regarded by film buffs mainly for its camp aspects.
How do you spend your time?
Knitting.
I don't think we actually take them seriously today.
Well, just remember, we're going to a party, not a funeral.
They would probably laugh good-naturedly if they saw Strait-Jacket now in the theater.
It was an asylum, and it was hell. 20 years of pure hell.
I love that laughter because people are there, they're watching it, and they're having fun. And here we are today, talking about it.